143. The third way in which we can sin through pride is when we attribute to ourselves some good, of any kind whatsoever, which we do not really possess. But whether it be that we esteem ourselves for that imaginary good, which exists only in our thoughts, and desire others to esteem us for it also, or whether we really possess it, or whether, again, we only desire to have this good which we have not, in order to be able to boast of it and glory in it. All this is detestable pride. It was in this way that the bishop of Laodicea sinned by esteeming himself rich in merit, when he was merely contemptible. And therefore God told him that he would vomit him out of his mouth. Apocalypse 3:16-17. And it is with this kind of pride that all sin, who either esteem themselves, or who seek to be esteemed by others, in word or deed, for more riches, knowledge, rank, or virtue than they really have. It may be an act of virtue to desire these things for some honorable end. For instance, to desire more knowledge in order to be able to serve Holy Church, to desire riches in order to be able to give more alms. But to desire these things in order not to seem inferior to others, or to acquire more esteem, is only pride. And oh, how few there are who are not infected with this pride. One for one thing, and one for another. Almost all men seek to be esteemed above what they really are, and this without the slightest scruple. Sometimes it may be that the sin is not so grave, either because this is not a deliberate wish, or else because the nature of the offense is very slight. But on the other hand, it is in itself always a very grave sin, because through this pride, man no longer remains subject to that rule which has been given him by God, to be contented in his own state. St. Thomas says, "This is evidently of the nature of mortal sin." And his doctrine on this point is that the greater the gift may be in which we glory, although we do not possess it, the greater is our pride. Therefore, it is worse to affect to be holy than to affect to be noble or rich, because sanctity is a greater gift than rank or wealth. And the habit of excusing the sins we have committed also belongs to this kind of pride. Because when we excuse ourselves and say that we are not guilty, we assert our innocence and accredit ourselves with an innocence which we do not possess. And how often do we sin thus through pride, without even knowing it? And St. Thomas also attributes to pride the endeavor to conceal our sins, and so excuse and palliate the wickedness thereof in our confessions.